Hey, what's up guys? Working on my son's 2013 Ford Focus ST. Gonna have a little fun with this. We're gonna see if we can get this thing to shoot some flames. So I'm gonna be installing this Hotlicks Flames on Command for the exhaust system, and I'll show you how to do it. So like I said, this is the Flames on Command from a company called Hotlicks. You can check them out at hotlicksexhaust.com. This kit here is for single exhaust. They do make a dual exhaust kit as well. And then this is the basic kit where they say it produces 6 to 24-inch flames. They do make a larger one that shoots up to 3 to 5 foot. They call that the Mega Flames, I guess. I'll probably get some hate for installing this, but my son wanted to try it out, so I figured we'll go ahead and try it out. But should come with everything you need. You can see here's our spark plug. We'll be mounting into the exhaust. You got some wire, which will be running up to the engine bay to splice into the coils. You got your module we need to mount. And then looks like you got your switch, some butt connectors, and everything else we need. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and mark our hole for our spark plug. And in the instructions, they say to go 8 to 10 inches back from your tailpipe. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this back. Let's see where 8 inches is. You can see that's not going to work right there because it's right where it kind of Y's off. 10 inches will put us about right here, and I think that will work perfect. So pretty much right in the center right there. And I'm going to go ahead and mark my hole just with a punch. I'm going to go in through the side. That's going to be the best bet. So the spark plugs kind of goes in the side. I'm not going to go like down below here because then they'll be hanging down. You got wires and everything else. So if you go right at the side, that should work perfectly. And this is going to be a 9/16 hole, so keep that in mind as you're marking this spot on how big a 9/16 is going to be. I do have a bit, so you can kind of see about where it would be. It's about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark this. About right there. Got a couple clicks. I'll go ahead and drill that out. So I'm going to start out with just small bits now, and then I'll work my way up to my 9/16. Or if you start small, and then you can use one of these step bits and go to the 9/16 mark and use one of those as well. Whatever you guys want to choose. But let me go ahead and just start drilling. And you can see I already slipped off on my little mark there. So there's my pilot hole, so I'll go ahead and keep switching out bits until we get to the 9/16. Okay, so right there, that's going to be our 9/16 hole. So I went ahead and just cleaned up some of the burrs that were around that. So now, what they want you to do is they want you to weld this up. I don't have my welder out right now, so we're just going to bolt it up because that's the other thing they said you can do is, but what we need to do is feed the nut through the actual exhaust pipe here. So I'm going to tape it to a wrench. That's what they say you can do in the instructions. We'll put some high temperature thread locker on the plug here, and we'll stick this in, and then along with our nut, and we'll go ahead and start threading this into the nut that's taped to the wrench there. So let me grab a wrench and some tape, and I'll get some thread locker on here. Okay, so this is what I ended up doing. Took a 7/8 inch wrench, and you can see I just took some electrical tape, taped the nut in there. It's kind of ghetto, but hey, whatever works. And if you guys want, you can always jack up this rear end just to give you a little more room. I still got it on the ground, and I got plenty. So now let's go ahead and I'll put some of this high temperature Loctite on the threads of the spark plug here, and then we'll go ahead and screw it in. So I'll go ahead and feed my wrench through here. Hopefully it's long enough, should be. So you can kind of see it there. And then we'll go ahead and take this and see if we can screw this in. At least get it started through the nut there. And you can see my nut fell out. Alright guys, so I think that's going to be pretty hard with the tape. So what I ended up doing is I just took a magnet, and then I went ahead and lock that onto the nut. We'll go ahead and stick this through, and then we'll tighten our spark plug on it. So go ahead and stick this through. Try to find your hole there. It's right there, you can see it. So go ahead and thread this into the nut there. So get that hand tight, and then I can go ahead and get my wrench on it. Just pull your magnet out, and let me go ahead and grab a wrench for the spark plug. So grab a 5/8 wrench, that'll fit on the spark plug, and then go ahead and grab your 7/8. Okay, and just go ahead and tighten that up. Like that. Next, go ahead and clear out your spare tire and all that out of your hatch here, and we need to find a spot to mount the module. So I'm thinking I'm going to stick it maybe down into where the styrofoam is and maybe velcro it there and then run our wires. But first I think I'm going to go ahead and unbolt this subwoofer here, just try to get that out of the way so we can see where we need to drill into the body to go down. So I want to get this styrofoam piece over here out of the way so we have better access to getting that sub out of the way. So I'm just going to unplug the amp and all that from here. So you got these electrical connectors. Just go ahead and undo all those from your amp. And then you can pull this up. And then you got another one for your sub right back there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's green. So if you can reach your hand back in here just to unplug it. That one's kind of hard to get back in here. There we go. So that's what that looks like. Get your wire out of here. Now we should be able to just get this styrofoam piece out of the way here, give us a little more room. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove this sub. So you got 3 10mm nuts we need to remove. So go ahead and remove those. This should just lift out of here. Next, I'll go ahead and drill a hole, I think in about right here. So we need to feed our wire down to our spark plug. So drill a hole big enough for that. So let me do that. Another way you can do is, if you notice there is, grab my light here, for your tail lights and all that, there is this plug right there. You could always go through as well. I think it's going to be easier if I just drill a hole right here, and then I'll put a rubber grommet there. So let me go ahead and get this hole drilled. Okay guys, so what I ended up doing was just drilling that out to a 9/16 like we did with the spark plug. And then I got this rubber grommet. It doesn't come in the kit, but I just had this laying around. I got this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description if you want. Take a look at that. But then we can go ahead and stick this through that hole there, because you want something to protect that wire from chafing. So I figured these rubber grommets might work. So if you can get that pushed into the hole there, maybe. There we go. So kind of like that. And then if you take the spark plug wire, we'll go ahead and feed that through that hole. And then I'll go down below here and we'll start pulling on it. So I just want to show you guys something. So I went ahead and pulled that grommet back out. But the hole we need to go through, not sure if you guys can see that, but the hole goes like kind of at an angle, which I'll show you down below. So if we take this, we just stick this through the grommet, that gives us a little more room. to feed it through that hole down there. And then we'll have to use another grommet down below there. So I got that kind of feeding through. So now let's go down below and I'll show you. So down below here, you can see here's that wire, comes through this hole. And then what I'll do is I got another one of these grommets that should fit in that hole perfectly. So I'll go ahead and feed this through a little more. You want to pull out just enough to get to where the spark plug is, and I think that's going to be enough. And then we can pull our slack back up in if we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and slip this grommet over this, bring this up, and then go ahead and get this grommet pushed into place into that hole that's already there. So now go ahead and grab your spark plug boot here along with the wire we just fed. You're going to remove this rubber grommet here. That'll just pull off, and you'll want to slip this onto this wire. And then what you're going to do is you can see inside there's almost like just like a screw. So you're going to screw that into this wire here, and it says to go clockwise about 4 to 5 times. So go ahead and kind of stick that through, and then just see if you can turn this 4 to 5 times clockwise, because you want that to get a good connection onto that copper. So once you get it started, it usually turns on there pretty good. So I'll go about right there. That should be good. And then you can take this grommet, slip this back over. And now that should hold that in place. And then what we're gonna do is go ahead and just stick this onto the spark plug now. And that'll just click on there like that. There we go. And now we can pull our slack. I might zip tie this up. I'll show you here in a minute. But I think that's what I'm going to do, is just kind of point this upward. You want to keep it away from the heat as much as possible, and then maybe I'll zip tie it up here. So let me do that, and then I'll pull our slack out as well. So as you can see, got that all zip tied. I just ran a zip tie right there, but you can see now it's not hanging down or anything, and then it goes up. Got our rubber grommet in there, so that should be good. Went ahead and pulled the slack. So let's go ahead and back up top there. So now we need to mount our module. So I think what I'm going to do is go right here. The subwoofer will fit over this. I may have to trim that styrofoam that kind of slides up under here, but I think that's going to be the best spot. And then we can run our wire down along here up to the front or down that way. Not sure yet how I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and screw that in with these self tappers they give you. So we'll do 2 on each, or 1 on each side. So I'm thinking probably right there, but let me just double check the speaker, make sure that clears. So if you take this, this will fit over that. Of course our wires won't be in the way, but I think if we do, actually might bring it back to about right there like that. Okay, so something kind of like that. That should work. Next, we'll go ahead and do our ground wire here. I'm just gonna probably do it, I'll bring it around and then maybe screw it down like right here. But I'm just gonna rough up this surface here, get some of that paint off of there so it gets a good ground. Just using my Dremel tool here. So then just take you some strippers. We'll strip this back just a little bit more so we can get our eye on here. Twist that up. Get your eye that comes included in the kit. We'll go ahead and crimp that down. Give that a nice tug, make sure that ain't gonna come off. And we'll route this, like I said, something kind of like that. Let me grab a self-tapper. Just like that. So I went ahead and just tied that up, got that nice and neat. So now let's go ahead and take the supplied wire they give you. I'm gonna go ahead and splice it into this with the butt connector. So just go ahead and strip back a little more of this. Same with the other one here. Grab your butt connector. And let me grab my crimpers. Cut that, strip that back a little too long, but stick that in there along with the other side here. And we'll go ahead and crimp that. On both ends. Give that a tug, make sure that's on there good. So now we'll go ahead and just get the subwoofer back into place. So now we'll have to trim this foam piece here to fit for that module. So I'm just going to use a knife. Let's just see if we can cut a straight line here, see if that's going to be enough. Just something kind of like that. You really won't be able to see this, so grab your foam piece, and don't forget your sub connector here. Get this kind of in place. Before I get that in a position, go ahead and plug this in. Make sure that clicks. And then route your wires here. That fits perfect. So next what I'm going to do is I'll probably take this wire, I'll tuck this back down underneath here, and then we'll go on the side of this styrofoam right along here, and then we'll run the wire going out by the seat there, and then probably down along the door jambs and that. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so what I ended up doing was, you can see the wire, I just ran it underneath that portion there, and then just kind of tucked it under here. Same with over there, went underneath here, you can see it kind of coming out right there. And then I took it down to where the amplifier wires and all that go underneath the seat there, and then I'll show you that. So we can go ahead and get this foam piece back into place here. So then just tuck your wires back into the foam piece, and we can go ahead and plug in our amplifier. Those can only go, of course, one way. So just get all those plugged back in. Just like that. So as you can see, here's that wire. So I just fed it down. That's the amplifier wires, and then it comes down. Ran it back along the seat belt here, and then you can actually just tuck it down into these panels here. Same with this. You can see it comes out right here, but even if you just push down on this, you can get it underneath this panel as well. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll run it down along the side and just tuck it up under here as well. Okay guys, so I went ahead and ran all that wire. I went on the back side of the seat belt over here. Again, just tucking it underneath this panel. You don't have to remove the panel, and it works real well. Actually, I can feel it right there. So just get it tucked under there. And then I brought it up along, you can see it kind of caught right there, up along this panel as well, and then I'm coming out right here. So I'm not sure where I'm going to mount the switch yet. I was thinking right underneath the steering wheel here. So you got your, to move the steering wheel, your lever here. So I'm thinking somewhere right up in here, because there's a nice little edge here I can tuck the wires down through. So what I think I'm going to do is just kind of get the switch right here. I'm not going to mount it yet, but I'll get all the wires fed to it here. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I ran the wire up back behind underneath there. You guys will have to figure that out. I'm not going to record all that because it's just wiring. But bring that wire up, and I brought it up through here. It's kind of hard for you guys to tell, but so I'm going to fit it in this little slot right here. And I'm just going to cut the wire now. I'm going to leave a little bit of slack in case I don't mount that switch right here. So let's leave yourself plenty of slack. And go ahead and cut your wire. Strip that one back. And actually I took too much. Let me do that. Strip that one back. Grab your connector here that will connect onto the switch there. And go ahead and crimp that one. Give it a tug, make sure it ain't going anywhere. So then I'll just go ahead and connect that to my switch. So this is the one that we just ran, the wire that goes back to the module there by the spare tire. And that one is going to go on the middle of your switch here. So just like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just start on some of the stuff under the hood there, because we need to get the wires fed back through the firewall once we do our splice. So we'll probably have to remove the battery just to see what access we got to stick those through the firewall. So let's just go ahead and start removing some of this stuff. I'll go ahead and take this engine cover off. And as you can see, this has an aftermarket intake. So I'm just going to remove this air filter, get it out of the way. 8mm on that. Next, remove your battery cover here, along with this back one. And then go ahead and disconnect your battery. Those are going to be 10mm. And with your negative way back here. And then I like to, let me grab a 13mm and we'll just remove this ground as well. So go ahead and disconnect that. Now let's just see if we can get this off a little better. Get that out of the way. Then go ahead and undo your 10mm for your battery hold down. Pull that off. And then this thing kind of sucks. You gotta pull it apart. Bring this end down kind of. Then you should be able to get your battery out of here. Next, we'll get the battery tray out of here. So you got 3 8mm bolts. Go ahead and remove those. And then you should be able to just pull this whole tray out of here. So there's this grommet under here. Just gotta get past that point. There we go. Okay guys, so I went ahead and just drilled a hole off camera. It was just hard to get my camera in here to show you guys what I was doing. But I tried to find a hole that was already existing in the firewall that maybe we could punch out and stick through. But this car, everything's so compact in here and it's such tight clearance that I went ahead and just drilled a hole Like I said, there is like no holes in this firewall to stick this through. But so I went ahead and drilled a hole. Let me zoom in here and I'll show you. So you can see I already stuck some wire through. That way we can tape our wires through it and pull them through. But you can see there's the hole right there. So you got your brake booster, and then your clutch pedal just goes into the firewall right there. So I went right below that, and I made sure before I drilled I wasn't going to hit anything, because you got your carpet backing and all that on there. So just be careful when you go to drill this hole. So what I did was I used a 7/32 bit, and you can see I just got a super long drill bit, and that's what I went ahead and drilled through. And then I stuck this just some of this wire, galvanized wire I have, and that'll help fish the wires through. So now let's go down below and I'll show you that hole, and we can go ahead and tape our wires to it. So hopefully you guys can see this. Like I said, it's such tight clearance down under here. But you can see here's my wire sticking through, and it comes through right up here. And I went ahead and just took the wire down below the clutch pedal here. That way it doesn't get, our wires won't get caught in the steering or any of that. And then I'll go ahead and feed this up to our switch there. So that's what that looks like. And so the black wire they give you, you should have enough. If you cut it in half, I have this other 16 gauge wire. It's red laying around, so I'm just going to use some of this as well. That way I don't get them mixed up. But like I said, if you want to use the black wire that they give you, just go ahead and cut this piece in half, and then we'll run both wires out to the coil wire there. So I'm going to go ahead and tape this to here. And what I'll do is I'll probably tape one of these like that, and then I'll bring my red wire and tape this one down probably around here, because if we do both of these and tape it around, it's probably not going to fit through that hole. So if we stagger it kind of like that with the tape, it should feed through that hole there. So we go ahead and do that. Get this taped up here. So just kind of something like that. We'll see if this works. Hopefully it does. Now we can go ahead and start pulling from the top. And this is a lot easier if you got somebody to help you feed some of this. I'm out here by myself, so I may have to go from the top to the bottom here, back and forth, just to make sure it's not getting caught up. So slowly go ahead and start pulling that through. And I can see I'm already getting caught, so let me go down there. So I got that fed through. My tape actually came undone, so I don't want to bore you guys with that. So I just went ahead and retaped it. You want to go pretty thin with the tape because it will not fit through that hole. So got these fed through. So let me pull up enough slack to where we can get right to the fuse box here. So that should be good right there. Let me get this untaped. And then what I'm going to do is, I got another one of these rubber grommets I'm just going to stick on here, so we can plug that hole in the firewall there, and that'll help protect the wires since we did drill that hole out. Don't want it to sit there and chafe on these wires. So I'll get that pushed in after we pull all of our slack and all that. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'll stick these wires back behind and then come up along side of all these wires. So I need to go back behind there. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so as you can see, got that routed, went ahead back behind there, and then just kind of threw this bracket right there. So now let's go ahead and take off this fuse lid here. And so I already checked the wiring diagram on this, and what we need to tap into is going to be this large purple wire, this one right here. And again, this is for what this is, which is a 2013 Ford Focus ST. I'm not sure if every ST is going to be like this, so you may want to double check your wiring diagram just to make sure. You want to look for the ignition coil fuse. So there's two of them, this little 5 amp one here, and then this 15 amp here. This one is number 33, and that 5 amp one is, trying to remember here, 23. So make sure you check that as well. So this 15 amp is fused 33, and then what happens is there's a green and white wire, I already checked, that comes underneath there according to the wiring diagram, and then it comes up to this purple wire right here. So we're going to tap into that one, but I think what I'm going to do is, so we can get our fuse lid back on, I'm going to go ahead and take apart this fuse box here, and then hopefully we can run these wires in through here, and then maybe come up. You can see these two holes here. See if we can feed them up through those holes. That way we can tap into this and still get our fuse box lid on. So I'm just going to go ahead and unplug this first. So you got this little black tab right here. So just kind of move that to the side and then lift up on this lever. And then you can just unplug this. That's how that does that. So now let's go ahead and take apart this fuse box here. So I'm going to get a flathead, and you got all these little tabs on the side here all over the place that we need to pry outward and then lift up on this, and it should open up. So like I said, just take a flathead screwdriver, just kind of pry out on these tabs as you're lifting up on it. So you can see it kind of lifting there. And you just need to go around and do that to all these. And then actually I forgot, you need to pull this 8mm right here as well. Just try not to snap those tabs off though. Just about there. Getting caught on this one back here. There we go. So then you should be able to just kind of lift this up. Can't really lift it up too high because of all your wires. So then what I'll do, let's see if we can just feed these in here. And then just see if I can bring these up through these holes here. It's kind of hard to see where I'm feeding this through. So like there's that one. Let's see if we can get this red one through. So something kind of like that. And then I'll probably go ahead and go down below there and pull some of this slack out, because we're not going to need that much. So pull it out here for right now. So yeah, something kind of like that. And then you can go ahead, since that's all we really need to do with that, we can just push this down and it'll snap back into place. And if you notice, this one's already broke. So like that. And then you can go ahead and get your 8mm bolt back in for that. So now let's see if I can maybe expose this purple one a little more. You can see they have it taped right here. Let me see if I can get this tape cut back here some, just to see if maybe we can get a little more slack on this purple wire. So let me get this untaped real quick. So I got that tape off and that really didn't do much. You can see still don't have that much slack. And I got to thinking here, because we need room for this to slide if we ever need to pull this off or whatever. And I have a feeling if we do, because we're going to need to do 2 butt connectors in here, and there's really not that much room, and we need to have enough room for this to slide back and forth. So I think I'm going to ditch this idea of tapping into it right here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull these wires, see if I can just feed them through this little hole here. So get them out of the fuse box, but they're still in there, just coming out this way. And then I'll see if maybe we can tap into here, or if not, I'll follow this along, because it comes into this main harness right here, and then it breaks off into the 4 coils there. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe just pop these 2 out and see if I can untape this, see how hard it is to get into here. If not, I'll go ahead and run these wires along this, and then, like I said, coming out, and we'll tear this apart right here and see if we can access this large purple wire, because there's other purple wires in here, but they're not as big of a gauge. So there's really just the solid purple one, so there should be just that one. And I'm not sure where it breaks off to all 4 injectors, if it's somewhere right here, if it's more up here, so just have to find out here. So what I ended up doing was I took out the lower intake box there and went ahead and undid these here. These Christmas tree style clips clip into there. Follow this along, and this goes down, and then it loops around down here, comes back up, and then I went ahead. There were zip ties around this protective sleeve here, so I just unzip tied those or cut them off. Just be careful when you do that. And then I peeled back some of the tape, and that exposed all these wires. So if you take a look, here is our purple wire we're looking for. And that gives us a lot better access, especially putting butt connectors in there. That's going to give us plenty of room. And then we can tape this back up and put our sleeve and all that over it. And I think that's going to work. So let's go ahead and cut this wire here. And I double checked just to make sure there isn't any other purple ones that are the same gauge, but you can totally tell this is the one you need. So it must branch off to the coil somewhere a little higher than this. So I think this is going to be the perfect spot. And then what I can do is zip tie the red and black wire to the wiring harness until it gets up into here. So just go ahead and cut that in a good spot here. I'm going to go right in the middle here. That should be perfect. Snip that wire. And then go ahead and strip back for our butt connector. On both ends here. And then I'm not going to use the supplied one they gave us. I'm going to use this style instead. I think these are a little better than the ones they give you. So I got these laying around. So now let's go ahead and just crimp these on. Go ahead and twist this if you need to. We'll crimp one end on first. Give it a tug. Grab your other butt connector and go ahead and do the same to this one down here. there's that one. And what you want to do is take your wires here, and you may want to, if you're going to zip tie this to that existing wiring harness, just route these to where they'll zip tie really good. So I'm thinking something like that, and then I can zip tie it. Bring this around. I think the way I had it was actually better, so kind of like that. And then let's go ahead and strip these back. So then you just want to pay attention. So this top one's going to go to the coils. So I'm going to run my red wire with that one. So let's go ahead and get that one into place here. And I'll crimp that. Because you need to make sure when you get these on the switch, they're hooked up correctly. So this one will be going to the coils. So go ahead and crimp that one. And then this black one will be going to the fuse box. So just like that. And let me go ahead and grab a lighter, and let me just make sure this one's, let me come in just a little bit on it. We'll grab a lighter and I'll heat shrink these. So you can just take a lighter and lightly burn this. Just don't stay in one spot for too long, and then this will eventually shrink up to the actual wire. So like that, you can see it shrinks to the wire. Do the same to this one. So now I'm going to go ahead and tape this all back up. So like the black wire here, you can see I'll wrap it kind of like that. And then just go ahead and tape around this. I'm going to be using this Tessa tape. You can get this off Amazon. It's the same stuff as this. It's like almost like a fabric style tape. I'll get this all taped up, get this sleeve back on, zip tie all that, and then I'll run my wires, zip tie all these to where I want it to go, and then I'll come back. I'm not going to bore you guys with that because that's pretty basic stuff. So let me get this done real quick. Okay, so as you can see, I got all this back together, zip tied that all up, ran a couple zip ties, and then I just ran this wire, of course, into the fuse box there, and then went ahead and just pulled all of my slack, got my rubber grommet back in there, so we should be good. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this put back together. So I got the intake all put back in. I didn't record that since this intake is different than probably the most of yours. Let's go ahead and get our battery box back in. And I went ahead and just sprayed some WD-40 into these holes here, because as you saw when I pulled this out, they were super rusty. So get your battery box back in here. Get all three of your 8mm bolts in here. Grab your battery, of course negative side goes towards the firewall there. Go ahead and get this put back in place. Get your strap put on. So you got this little indentation here that goes into that side. And your 2 nuts. And of course your negative here. So that's going to go into this little indentation there. And then you can get your ground hooked up here. Just watch out, it probably will spark on you. Get your 2 covers back on here. Along with your engine cover. So now we'll go ahead and wire these up to the switch. But first I'm going to go ahead and just feed these up again through here. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and connect these. Okay, so I got all those ran, as you can see. So now let's go ahead and strip these back. I'll start with the red one here first. So again, just strip some back on that. And then we'll put our connector on here. Go ahead and crimp that. And then if you take a look at the instructions here, if you remember right, the red one went straight to the coils. So you can see that's going to go on the top switch. So you can see that goes over to the coils there, and then we'll connect our other one, the bottom. That'll go to the fuse panel. So go ahead and connect this one up top here. And then we'll go ahead and strip this one back here. Go ahead and put this one on. And then we'll connect this to the bottom one. And then I'll wait. I want to make sure everything works before I go ahead and mount it wherever I'm going to mount it. So now let's just go ahead and try it. So I'm going to push. You'll have to just push your start button once there. I'll have my son hit the button here. Let's take a look. So you can see the spark in there. So that is working. So now that we know that is working, I'm going to go ahead and mount this switch. And like I said before, it's kind of hard for you guys to tell, but I think I'm going to go right in here because this is kind of a flat spot. And like I said, you got this little area right here that you can tuck the wires back behind, and it shouldn't interfere with your steering wheel adjustment. So let's go ahead and mount it right there. Okay, so I went in and just drilled my hole here. So you can see I went right there. And I just use a step bit. That's going to be, you want to go to a 9/16 on this, or you can use a 9/16 drill bit, and that'll fit just perfect. And then if you take a look, so all you got to do on this is you just pull this red button off. That just pulls right off, and then you can unscrew the nut and all that. And then what I'm going to do is this will fit in there perfectly through this, just like that. And then you can take your washer and your nut, stick that on. Get that nice and snug. And then you go ahead and put your button back on. Just like that. And I'll go ahead and zip tie these wires together. And then, like I said, there's that little channel right under here. I'm going to run the wires in and get all this buttoned up. So now let's go ahead and start it just to make sure it starts and everything. And then I'll go ahead and let it warm up here. Okay guys, so as you can see, it's a little bit warmer here. So now I'm going to go ahead and just hit this button, and you'll see that it will actually cut out the RPM, so it cuts the whole ignition off. So here we go. I'm going to press it so you can see it. If I hold it, you can see it just cuts out the ignition. So that's what you want. So I'm going to have my son go ahead and practice with this a little bit, and then I'll probably do another video here at the end just showing when it gets a little darker out what all I can do. Alright guys, so as you saw in those last few video clips, it definitely works. Actually works better than I thought it would. It does take a little bit of practice, but I think my son's got it down now. And hopefully this video helps you out on installing the Hotlicks Flames on Command exhaust system. And if you haven't already, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Got quite a few videos on the ST alone, so check those out when you get a chance, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.